Chair Fowler, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Major Kate Harris, a former Air Force evaluator pilot with a degree in civil engineering, a master's in public administration, formerly on a hospital board of directors, and most importantly, the mother to 3 young children who were present at your Tuesday hearing, and I live at 37268 Moss Rock Drive, Corvallis. I'm here today in strong opposition of the Coffin Butte Landfill expansion and to demonstrate that any expansion will impose an undue burden on services available to the area per Benton County Code 53.215. I will be discussing 4 topics: the burden of truth, spin doctors, the burden of safety, and the people's burden. You've already heard or read arguments discussing burden placed on transportation, the health and livability of the air and water sources, usability of the area for recreation, as well as others. Tonight, I will be discussing the primary burden that the current expansion is placing on services available to the area, namely the requirement of thousands of citizen and county staff hours, which have been dedicated to interpreting Republic's application to determine what is true, what has been omitted, and what is deceitful. The complexity of this operation and application have completely overwhelmed the capacity of Benton County's own staff. Despite the very kind and thoughtful members on staff, technology and communication problems have been present throughout this process, continuing even to several emails I received coordinating this slot to speak. It is no wonder that the county has not been able to enforce prior conditions of approval if they can't even manage the technology and communication requirements it takes to consider such a complex application for such complex operations. Inga Williams, in her former role as County Associate Planner, stated in an email that she could not include Coffin Butte Landfill in the Community Wildfire Protection Plan because she did not have the knowledge to do so. Within the staff report for this application, there are numerous cases where the staff states it does not have the capacity to evaluate certain details and therefore can provide no additional comment on that section. Given this, how can you expect the staff to have the capacity to ascertain what parts of the application are accurate, omitted, or deceitful? One example of the need to determine the truth is from the applicant's fire risk assessment update from September 24 in the application, page 3. In reference to the garbage and hydraulic lifter fire on May 18, 2024, quote, "A Dare fire was on standby at the site, but not needed to actively engage in the fire," end quote. This is outright false, as pictures from that event clearly show 2 simultaneous water streams being applied to the tippers by a Dare volunteer firefighters. These pictures have been available on social media for nearly a year, not hidden on somebody's phone. Another example, referencing the 1999 fire, the risk assessment states, quote, "On-site staff was joined by the local fire department, a Dare fire, which assisted to extinguish the fire after several hours," end quote. Whereas the Associated Press and personnel reports discuss this fire burning for more than 24 hours. Per Webster's dictionary, referenced by Mr. Kleinman, several is defined as, quote, "more than 2, but fewer than many," end quote. In this case, it is deceitful for the applicant to claim that the 1999 fire was, quote, extinguished after several hours," end quote. Approving this application places an undue burden on the entire county until you, the Planning Commission, can ascertain what components are accurate, what have been omitted, or are deceitful, whether intentionally or not. It is also impossible to determine the level of undue burdens that will be imposed by the actual expansion if the application does not include full truths. If the truth of this application is in such question, what are we left to believe about the reports of the ongoing operations of this landfill as Republic's supposedly most profitable landfill? In just one area of operations, methane leaks, we are still waiting to see what the EPA has to say on the reliability of Republic's self-reported information. Which brings me to spin doctors. I would like to introduce you to 2 people from Republic Services, key players on their team, Ginger Richardson, sometimes appearing as Ginger Ruff, and Russ Knock. They're on a special team at Republic Services, Information Control. The common term is spin doctors. Commissioner Biscoe may remember them from Trash Talk's work group. Ginger Richardson participated throughout BCTT, and Russ Knock appeared from time to time. Commissioners, we will introduce into evidence at least one document from that time showing the spin doctors at work. What happened was, a member of the subcommittee studying landfill life proposed the subcommittee's report should include a section on the dump closing early because of environmental violations. The scenario he imagined had to do with excessive methane emissions. Our evidence shows that Ginger Richardson urged BCTT facilitator to strike all evidence of that idea from the BCTT record to make it appear as if it had never been said. We did not know at the time that the EPA had already begun its investigation of Coffin Butte Landfill for excessive methane emissions. Republic successfully hid that event from everyone for over a year until reporter Tracy Lowe broke the story in the Salem Statesman Journal in the fall of 2023. She found out by using the Freedom of Information Act. We will enter all of Tracy Lowe's reporting into the record. You may note that Ginger Richardson's name appears here and there in Republic's application. You may not realize that her presence shows itself nearly everywhere in Republic's communications. We will introduce evidence detailing how the company's communications have been crafted to spin the facts and obscure the truth. I think that evidence will go on, but we urge you to read it all. Tonight, my time is limited, so I'll point out 2 examples. First, this statement from the application that the dump has, quote, 3 times the industry standard, end quote, of wells extracting landfill gas. This is brought forward as a proud achievement. Commissioners, it is anything but. Here's how the regulatory system works. If a landfill finds a methane leak, the operators have 10 days to remediate that leak. That is, they try to fix it and test again in 10 days. If they have not fixed it, the operators have 30 days to fix it. So they test again in 30 days to see if it is still leaking. If the operators fail to control the leak, the regulations require them to drill a new well right there to try to at least reduce the pressure on that unmitigated leak. Once you know that, then the 30-plus gas wells at Coffin Butte Landfill are an unmistakable sign of widespread failure of the dump's gas collection system to stop uncontrolled emissions of landfill gas. And the millions of dollars spent drilling all of those wells is put into proper regulatory context. We will introduce into evidence a detailed breakdown of that failure. My second example is how the life of the landfill is portrayed throughout Republic's communications. Simply put, it's portrayed as if the dump will run at full speed until it's full, as though annual intake volume is a set number out of anyone's control. Commissioners, the annual intake volume is not a set number. It's a dynamic number set entirely by Republic. The truth is, for Benton County residents, the life of disposal service is through the year 2040. That is, we have guaranteed service for 15 more years. That's ironclad. It's in the franchise agreement. And that number has nothing to do actually with the dump. If the dump closes tomorrow, the life of disposal service for Benton County residents is through the year 2040. You can see how it benefits Republic Services to spin the life of the landfill this way. It's so they can constantly raise the specter of the dump filling up and Benton County suddenly having no place to put its garbage. Republic has been relentless on this spin and largely successful at duping the public into thinking there's a crisis of capacity looming. We'll introduce evidence of this spin throughout time. The truth is, Benton County government has done its job, and Benton County residents are legally protected. Republic is really worried about 2 issues with the dump expansion in particular, the pollutants, methane, and arsenic. As you review the letters submitted in Republic's burden of proof, the half legal, half technical one about methane emissions on page 119, and the definitely technical one about arsenic on page 121, please note that they are not signed by engineers or technical people. They are signed by Ginger Richardson. So, commissioners, when looking at the materials Republic provides to you, especially their upcoming rebuttal to public testimony, please keep in mind who is writing them. My third topic tonight is the burden of safety. As a former combat instructor and evaluator pilot in the Air Force, safety is an absolute priority. We would cancel combat sorties and presidential coverage missions if pre-flight mechanical or personnel safety issues arose. Safety is no joking matter. We worked incredibly hard to build and promote an overarching culture of safety in which all ranks were taught and encouraged to speak up and report any safety concerns that they saw, regardless of mission status, both in the plane and in everyday work. The goal of this was to encourage all of our decisions to be viewed through a safety mindset, with the very real outcome of preventing airplane crashes. It was also to normalize reporting of systemic issues so that we could discuss and remedy them before they led to catastrophic failures. This safety mindset is also applied in hospital systems. Our local hospital system believes so strongly in safety mindset culture that they host daily safety huddles as well as begin formal meetings with a safety moment to discuss something that occurred or nearly occurred to allow everyone to learn from the situation in hopes of preventing future harm. To facilitate this, they recently brought in a safety officer to lead this through the system. The hospital has based their safety culture on best practices from other high-risk industries, most notably aviation, submarines, and nuclear reactors. In such a high-risk operation as landfilling at Coffin Butte, with far-reaching consequences, particularly one contains nuclear waste, disposes of leachate in a drinking water resource, and covers nearby communities in unknown gas, I would expect nothing less than ensuring they operate with a comprehensive safety mindset. All of these side effects cause undue burdens on the local services and community, and I will propose that their lack of operating with a safety mindset poses additional undue burdens on local facilities and services. In Republic's Coffin Butte Landfill operating procedures dated April 2013, which is quoted verbatim in Appendix 20 to this application, Fire Risk Assessment, Step 5 of Section 8.1 states, quote, in case of a fire, the DEQ is notified of the event. And Section 8.2 states, quote, emergencies regarding fire or leachate excursions are reported to the DEQ, end quote. From Republic's Coffin Butte safety webpage, quote, safety is our top priority and a core value of Republic services, and it is tied to another core value to be human-centered, end quote. If Republic operated in a safety mindset manner, they would be more than happy to submit all of the documentation of all fires and leachate excursions reported as required to DEQ. Yet when I presented fire safety questions to DSAC last September, Brett Davis could not tell DSAC how many fires they'd had recently, nor did he offer to simply collect all of the DEQ notifications that are submitted per their operations plan. And has there been any follow-up about the most recent leachate excursion as queried by Joel Geyer, like Meyer, to the DEQ over the past few months? It's astonishing to me that we have not seen any evidence of post-event reports or after-action reports from Republic detailing each and every fire they have, what the cause was, how it was handled, and how future fires might be prevented. After-action reports or the like are standard practice in high-risk industries that do indeed operate with safety in mind. Without documentation showing an accurate history of the safety events that have occurred at Coffin Butte and the actions taken by Republic to minimize their future occurrences, the Planning Commission cannot accurately know or determine the extent of undue burden that are placed on local facilities and services by this operation or by any expansion. In addition to these three academic points, I must also include discussion of the people's burden. I, along with so many of my neighbors, have spent countless hours over the past 4 years highlighting the local burdens imposed by this monstrous operation. We have ignored our families, as tonight, gotten kids to bed too late, as of Tuesday, missed work, neglected growing potholes and exploding poison oak groves to focus on not allowing this community burden to grow any larger. Erin Brockovich did not become famous because her fight was short or easy. We would all prefer to get back to tackling our plumes of poison oak and backbreaking pothole filling than drag this on, capture more national attention, or become Brockovich or Flint, Michigan 2.0. My final points of the evening. My 11-year-old son and 9-year-old daughter were brave enough to speak to the State of Oregon House Committee on Climate, Energy, and Environment last week, requesting additional comprehensive methane monitoring for Oregon landfills to help ensure safe air where they live and go to school, adding burden to them missing more school. They both hope to speak tonight, but ceded their time to me since they will likely need to be asleep before their slot time, and we are not allowed to swap their time to earlier. They were going to speak about the burden on their grandparents, who purchased a home in Adair Village in 1974, sold that house, and bought a house on Tampico in 1995, on the south side of the ridge that the expansion is proposed for. And their house utilizes a groundwater well. Based on the 1977 Solid Waste Management Plan, the county expected the landfill to close in 2000. This was confirmed yet again in 1983 and 1994, giving my in-laws expectations that their property purchased closer to Coffin Butte would be a safe financial and health decision. This expansion, if approved, would bring the landfill closer to their property, where they live with my children's young cousins, and closer to the house where my 3 young children are growing up, seriously interfering with the health and safety of all of our family's local property, which we all wish to leave to these future generations. If this landfill continues to expand and operate in an unsafe manner, our families must make hard decisions if we intend to stay in our homes or move to seek healthier locations. Please consider the content of this application carefully and deny it until and unless you can verify its truth and completeness as you evaluate future burdens. Thank you for your time tonight. Any questions?
Ms. Harris, I have just a reference question. You referred to 2 pages early in your testimony. I'm looking at my notes a moment here. Worried about 2 issues as reviewed in Republic Services Burden of Proof document, page X and page 21. Any chance that you can refer back to that? It's early in your testimony. Signed not by technical experts, but by Ginger, I think you said Richardson.
I believe pages 119 and 121.
Very glad I asked. Thank you. And then just for clarification, have you submitted your testimony that you were reading from this evening for the record that we can review in writing?
I have not, and I will submit it.
Thank you, Ms. Harris.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harris.